Hello, and welcome back to TalkPAD. Gotta be one of my favorite times of the month because we get to speak to some amazing people. No, I didn't repeat. I just repeated myself because it's that good. Now, I am joined as always by my gorgeous partner, Charlotte, and our astute colleague, Mr. Guy Brewer from Golexia. Guy, introduce the guest, mate.
Okay, well, it is with enormous pleasure that I do this because let me tell you about our guest. Ladey Adey is an author, publisher, motivational speaker, passionpreneur, and grandmum. She runs a family-owned publishing company, Ladey Adey Publications, with her daughter Abby Rose and husband Dennis. Ladey has been a lover of books ever since her childhood when books were her friends. Back in the late 1990s, Ladey was a typesetter for a printing company and editor of their in-house magazine. Her career moved into the charity sector, where she held CEO and chair positions. At the same time, she ran her own business in education, secretarial services, and networking before writing her first book, Unfrozen, in 2014. Ladey's management experience has come from over 25 years holding CEO and senior director positions in business and the voluntary sector, sharing platforms with the Archbishop of Canterbury, Reverend Dr. Rowan Williams, and other high-flying personalities. She has a large networking CV too. These days, Ladey heads up the non-fiction department for Ladey Adey Publications and leads on the author mentoring program. As an author, Ladey understands the book process from start to finish and mentors writers on their author journey to produce high-quality and well-written books which will attract many readers. She has a heart for helping those with dyslexia to write their books, showing proven strategies such as to talk it rather than write it. Ladey's latest book, Successful Business Networking Online, is the first book dedicated to online networking, and she is the founder of World Online Networking Day, the 29th of October. But there's more. For the extra fun in life, Ladey enjoys time with family and friends, making mosaics, gardening, including bricklaying, Christmas, playing the saxophone, and golf. Possibly not all at the same time, but we'll be able to find that out. And Ladey is also dyslexic. So welcome, Ladey Adey.
Thank you.
I told you, infamous. Wow, Ladey, have you not got a career behind you, mind?
I know.
Well, we're just not worthy to even be here. Well, just amazing.
I am thrilled to know about going back in time. So you started your love for books when you were very little. Yeah. And that really interested me because obviously today is all about talking positively about dyslexia and that you have that joy because most of the people that we have met so far, they sort of had a real challenge with books and things. And I don't know at the time if there was audiobooks, but obviously now it's much easier. But tell me a little bit more about that, please.
Actually, I've still got them to show my granddaughter, but you used to get the records inside a little storybook.
Yeah, so I remember that.
Don't admit that we remember that. I don't remember them. Oh, no.
I can remember Bambi. I've got Bambi on that. And then I've got a whole load of
as well.
Yeah, so that would be our version of audio.
Yeah.
But I had the advantage of having a teacher for my mum, or my mum as a teacher, who then later went on to be a head of primary school. Although she didn't pick up my dyslexia.
So
interesting.
How old were you? When did you know that you were dyslexic? When did you find that out?
I didn't find that until I was well into my 30s.
Wow.
End of 30s. And had no idea, never, because my mum used to help me so much. So when I was in my, at secondary school and I had to do essays, she would go through my essay, she would correct it, and then I'd have to get up early in the morning between 6 and 7 and rewrite it. And we did that, still not realizing why, just that's the way it was. And I think that's why I do all my writing so early in the morning now, is because of that. That's what we did. Because I hate to imagine what the teachers would have said if they saw what the original essays were. It just doesn't bear thinking about, actually. But yeah, and I discovered that I was dyslexic because my youngest daughter was diagnosed. She was diagnosed at the age of 16 when she went to sixth form college. Hadn't really come up before. Again, input from family and private school and stuff sort of masked it. And then she came and said, I think I'm dyslexic. They're going to check me out. And we're like, okay, yeah, this is going to be interesting. And then I said to her, well, what is it? What do you struggle with? And she said, well, it's the words moving a little bit. It's it's helpful having a yellow template over the words, and explained a few more things that happens to her. And I said, but that's the same for everybody. And she said, no, Mum, it's only the same for those who are dyslexic. So I thought, I better get checked. And I was doing my MBA at that time. So I got myself checked. Yep. I had got the dyslexic tendencies. It was explained to me how the brain worked in a different way, which was totally fascinating. But because no one could ever read my writing, but I could type so fast. Once I got that diagnosis, it meant the exams, I could type them instead of writing. Yeah. I could have extra time, which was really good for the financial side of things. And it then became an absolute breeze. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. I wish I'd known years ago.
I can type very fast, but no one can still understand. So nothing leaves this house without Charlotte proofreading it. Let me tell you.
That's right. For me, it's often verbal. My words get mixed up, particularly if I'm really tired or stressed. And that's when the wrong words get malaprop, or I can't pronounce them correctly, or can't get them out. And that's when I really know the dyslexia kicking in.
Do you know what? One thing I've learned since doing this show is some of the wonderful and weird dyslexiacisms that you have, right?
Yeah, that's not spelled.
I find it fascinating. So tell us a little bit about how dyslexia has impacted you. I mean, obviously growing up, you had that impact, but obviously you had that support. But what about now? What about for you in your everyday life and for work, and how has it impacted you? And also, how has the diagnosis helped you?
Well, the diagnosis helped enormously because it explained things, and I can go, oh yeah, I do that because, and it just makes so much sense why people go, well, you go to A and then you go to B, and I go, no, I go from A, I go up to C, F, G, double Z. I go all around the houses and then I get to B. I get to the same answer as you do. I just got a very convoluted route.
I'm not sure that's dyslexia. I think that could be another gene that you have. Charlotte shares that gene with you. Definitely shares that gene with you.
So, and then it's the little things that you realize you do, and then you think other people don't. The way I have to be very careful in my current work, which is as a publisher and helping other people do their writing, curiously enough, but or doing any training, is I tend to jump quicker. I jump 2 spaces ahead and then have to backtrack. So I just assume people are with me, and they're not. They need to. I've jumped 2 steps ahead of them, and then I have to go, oh, I've missed out that middle bit. So I have to go back. And that's the biggest thing that I'm very aware of at the moment.
Are you good at chess?
Sorry?
Are you any good at chess?
Tests?
Chess isn't a game.
No, not particularly. And one of the things my parents did, my mum did and my brother, was, as we grew up, they were great Scrabble players.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I hate Scrabble with a vengeance. I just can't see the point. And then quizzes, they go, oh, what number, what's J? How much is that valued? I'm thinking, I don't care. But I was traumatized by Scrabble.
The funny thing is, actually, I'm very good at Scrabble. And the reason being, and I'm also very good at chess, which is why I asked.
All right.
The reason being is I do what you do. I think 2 steps ahead. Because I've spent my life doing it, right? So with chess, all you need to do is be able to think 2 steps ahead. With Scrabble, I figure out what my opponent's doing, and then I realize, because I'm not very good at actual words, I just figure out what words can get me the most points by using the triples and the doubles on the board. And that's how I win the game. And I win every time we play. I always win. And Charlotte is phenomenal at spelling.
I'm not playing cards. I enjoy bridge and all sorts of card games. That one of the biggest memories, my father taught me to count by using cards. So even now when I count, I see the pattern. I see the 5 is the 4 corners in the middle.
Yeah.
I kind of see those patterns in my head when I do my maths.
No, that's something that's quite common, isn't it? And I'm going to go over to Guy with this. Yeah. It's quite common to kind of use patterns, isn't it, when you're dyslexic, to remember things, isn't it?
I think what people say is that they're very visual thinkers. And so that is, when you've got something, if you're dealing with number kind of thing, if you can tie it down to stuff you can see or associate patterns that way, then I think it helps get a grip on it. And I was talking to someone a little while ago about when I do an awareness raising session, I do this thing about how you spell elephant, because it's quite complicated. It's several syllables. Then the last one's got to be broken down into separate sounds, and the f sound could be made of several alternatives, a PH or an F or a double F and all this sort of thing. And so I'm explaining all this. And then I say, with a lovely GIF I've got, when you say to someone with dyslexia, spell elephant, what they're thinking of is, and I have a picture of an elephant walking through the savannah. The sun is high in the sky is blue. It's all sort of dusty and grassy. So if that's what's in your mind, how can you spell the word elephant? But for me, if someone says spell elephant, I can see it in my head. I haven't got a very vivid imagination otherwise when I'm thinking, but I'm a great speller, and J is worth 8 points, I can tell you, lady, because it's the game I'm reasonably good at. So, but the visual world, and it's what I say to a lot of people when I'm talking to them for coaching and they're stressed because they've got so much stuff in their head. I say, if you can get it out and see it so that you know what you're dealing with, so it becomes a visual thing, not a crazy thing hurtling around your head, then that seems to be a useful strategy.
My eldest daughter is a primary school teacher, and she's taken after my husband, and they've both got semi-photographic memories. And my daughter Abby Rose and I write children's books together, and we've written one called Little Unicorn and the Dinosaurs. Now you tell me why pterodactyl begins with a P. I mean, how ridiculous is that?
Absolutely ridiculous.
And I can never remember the pronunciations. So she has to tell me so many times. But that's part of our partnership when we write together.
The person who named the pterodactyl starting with the P, his name was probably Stephen, and it was a PH. So this does come on to my next question, though, right? So what do you do differently in your life from people who don't have dyslexia? So what have you noticed that you do differently now? Obviously, you're more aware of it. But yeah, so what kind of things do you do differently in life?
I think the biggest thing is when a staff member said to me, do you know what? We put a project to you or a proposal, and we're thinking that we're just down a single country line road. You're on the motorway. You've got all these bridges going over and all these different things happening. And so quickly. But it helps me in the work I'm doing at the moment, because when I'm talking to potential writers, And I go from their idea right the way through. So they'll give me an idea and I'll go, have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? And I maximize it to the point that they go, I've had enough. And then we pull it back again. But I can see far more than other people can initially. We've done a lot of, in our garden, a lot of brick walls, which I've built and so forth. But I can see a spot of land, but I can see it as I want it to be, not as it is. So we'd have visitors now go, oh, we're going to put the slide there, and we're going to put the secret garden there, and we're going to have veggies here, and we're going to have this. And I go, oh, yeah, very interesting. Mm-hmm. No idea. And then like 2 or 3 years later, when we get there, they go, oh, that's what you meant. And
that's something that you share with Jamie, because he can see the finished project before it's even done, which is interesting.
It's also a gift. It really is a gift, Lady, but it is also a curse, right? Because I will see something in the business and I'll go, oh yeah, and we'll do this, and in my head I've already sold it to 50,000 people, right?
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Charlotte quite often has to go, okay, let's just calm it down a little bit.
That's right. And to me, it doesn't matter the time frame. It doesn't matter that actually I've gone pacing ahead, but in my head I know it's 3 years, 5 years ahead. But the family members and the other poor person are going, oh my God, she's talking about that in the next 5:30 or 3 months' time. And I haven't communicated that actually I haven't. I've just seen it.
Yeah.
And that. But it does mean that when I have my authors, I can see their book before they do. I can visualize the cover. I can get their contents in my head sooner than they do, even though they're writing it. And that means I can support them better because I can hold their confidence for them until they catch up, and then they can own it.
Yeah, these able-bodied people, they don't catch up well with us very easily.
That's a really good way of sort of accommodating what you can offer to your people that or potential authors that come through with their ideas. I mean, that's a great skill to have in the line of business that you're in.
That's right. And, I got my management qualifications. I worked as CEO, but I do know in my heart I lost a job because I revealed to the wrong person at the wrong time that I was dyslexic. I cannot prove it, but it just was very coincidental that, a few weeks, months later, I basically came out of a job.
That brings me nicely on to the next question, actually, Lady. So one of the questions that we'd written down for you was, when do you tell people that you are dyslexic? I just tell people because I don't care. Like, I know I'm dyslexic, right? And I've got more skills than I've got disadvantages, and I know that. But what about you? I mean, you're in an industry where, people are going to go, what, a dyslexic author? That's like a tone deaf singer, so when do you kind of just go, do you know what? I'm dyslexic.
I didn't say much at first, and in the corporate world, I did not mention it, and I didn't see it as a disability, so I didn't put it in the personnel files. Just lately, I feel like I've just come out of the closet. So now, I'm talking with you now. I'm actually got encouraging other dyslexics to write, and that we publish for them, or that they just write and get their book out. I don't mind really. I just want books out there. So now I'm at a certain age that I'm a bit more, I am. But I still feel that I'm like an alcoholics meeting and going, hi, my name's Ladey and I'm a dyslexic. I still feel that. I'm not really owning it yet, but I am beginning to talk about it.
It's a tricky thing, isn't it? Because no one, and I've said this before probably a million times, you don't want to be defined by a single thing, isn't it? Because we're all made up of so many different characteristics. And because, if you've had a bad experience in the past, it's a sensitive issue, isn't it? And if you been brought up in a education system where dyslexia is not revered, and it certainly isn't. And I guess back when I was young, a lot of places didn't even realize that dyslexia was a thing. It was just a kind of learning problem. Learn to read very fast for some reason, couldn't understand it. And so, there's still plenty of people our age around who may have those views. So it's a hard thing to know, because it's a trust thing as well, isn't it? If you say to someone, I'm dyslexic, who knows how they're going to respond to that. And if you've been bitten once by it, it's a tricky thing, isn't it? And if you say you're dyslexic, do you also say, I am a, grandmother, I'm all these other things as well? Which do you choose?
That's right. And I still feel that by saying I'm dyslexic, so I was thinking, oh, she's thick, she's stupid, she's all the things, she's lazy. Those things come to mind because that was my schooling. I left school with 2 O-levels, one in drama and one in RE. Not a lot of use, really. But then I hated school, didn't get on well with it at all. But I loved learning. And when I went to technical college, as it was called then, I just thrived. And then I got more O-levels and went on as an adult learner. And I still love any day, which is a school day, except I don't like calling it school day, but a learning day is great for me.
So what changed then from school to technical college?
Being treated like an adult.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's a message to the teachers out there.
That's the thing my mum remembers. I came back from my first day at college and went. I remember going to the shorthand class, and the lecturer said, "If you want to get on in this, you will, but you have to do the work. And I'm not going to get on your back. You choose whether you do the work or not. And if you don't want to do it, that's absolutely fine, but just go to a different class." And I thought, I've got a choice here. And it was a mind-opening revelation that I could choose the subjects I liked, how much input I put in. And I loved it.
John, that's a lovely story, and it's an
really
honest,
lovely story.
I think what I like about it is it's honest and raw. Like, it's not negative, it's not positive. It's just how it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I left school with drama, and I left school with RE, amongst a few other little bits and pieces. Yeah. I've always loved RE. I'm not religious per se, but I loved RE because I love culture, and the different levels of and the different forms of culture. So I was very much about the culture. And you say drama. It was actually, I later on in life actually joined a theatre and then ended up working on the West End. And the only real qualification I had in that was a GCSE in drama. So yeah, I did utilise that. It was probably one of the only things I utilised, really. But there you go. I learned more when I left school than I did when I was in it.
It's really interesting though, because we a lot of the people that we've had on the show, they are really keen learners, but they don't realize that until later on when they get treated, like you said, like an adult, or treated differently. I think understanding that it's learning in a different way. And we've talked a lot to Guy about this, and we could have another show altogether about it, but it is a great message to get out there, which is why we love doing the show.
Yeah, it's about the like Charlotte says, it's about the method of learning, right? So when you find your method of learning, you're away. You learn all sorts of stuff.
That's right, and that's why I like the different learning styles and plugging in and finding where you are on that. So then you can just build on your strengths and forget your weaknesses, because you're never going to. They're weaknesses for a reason. They're never going to build up, but your strengths are where you major. And then you can excel in them and be recognised in them.
I said this to someone earlier on today. I said, remember, you're not great all of the time, but you are great most of the time. And if you choose what you want to be great at and you concentrate on that, the world is just open to you. You just never stop. That's and right. I've got a lasting question for you. So, because we're coming to the end of the show, I know, don't cry, Guy's already ready. So what are the things that matter most to you? So outside of everything else, right? What is the things that you hold most dear?
That's it. So you mean outside of family, outside of those things?
It could be anything you want. It could be the color of the sun. It really doesn't bother us. I just want to know what is it that means something to you? What do you feel warm about?
Well, my granddaughter's my first thing because my life is ruled by the 2.5-year-old.
Yeah.
She's the only one who can get her and my husband to run around the sitting room with a blanket over our shoulders, pretending we're butterflies, and we just do it because she told us we had to do it. That's right. It's got to go back to books. Lockdown has been interesting. I bought more books over lockdown. Can't say I've read them all, but I've got them. And just having that book in, and I don't mind book, whether it's a physical book, an audio book, an electronic book. To me, it doesn't really matter. But I do like that feel. And then when I get the chance to meet the author or speak to the author, it just opens up conversations, which I just absolutely adore. And, I live in a world of books now. I wish I'd done it years ago, but actually you couldn't have done, because it was Amazon that opened the doors to allow people in to do it. Without Amazon, the self-publishing world wouldn't be as open as it is. And it's just absolutely incredible. And I adore getting the rough copy of a book and then turning it into, crafting it so it looks like the finished product. And they're the things that just light me up to do that. Get me out of bed and makes me think, yeah, I want to spend the hours in the study to do this.
It's really lovely when you talk about
you
it,
can
because
see it glowing.
because we're doing this live, which obviously is going to be published as a podcast as well. But your passion and your face just lights up as you talk about it, which is fantastic. So really, really lovely to see that. It's lovely.
Thank you.
Well, we have to come to an end at some point, right? So we've got a few minutes left of the show. So, Guy, over to you. Have you got anything for Ladey?
I want to know, where does your confidence come from?
I'd say God.
Good question.
It's my faith. I also had a very, very stubborn father. I inherited his traits. I'm sure he was dyslexic, actually, but you would never know. But his backstory is quite incredible. So yeah, that's where the confidence. And then I'm with people who love me. So I've been extremely fortunate. 40 years marriage, two daughters who are doing brilliantly, granddaughter, so I'm relearning the world through her eyes. Life is good.
Oh,
That is fabulous, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is. You've been married for as long as I've been born.
But what it tells us, though, isn't it, is that, because no doubt there have been difficult times throughout life, especially I think for people with dyslexia, because it kind of goes against the neurotypical grains, isn't it? But if you've got people around you who you can trust and things you believe in that help kind of focus you, then you can get up every time you get knocked down, can't you? So that's the joy of it. If you're on your own and you don't reach out, then that's when it's really hard, isn't it? Because isolation is a struggle.
It is, because you haven't got anybody else going, I know you're thinking that, but have you considered it this way?
Yeah.
Or, that's interesting that you say that. My view is, and then it helps you to go, actually, maybe I don't need to take offense at what that person said. Maybe I can think of it that they were having the bad day and it wasn't personal. Yeah. And you take out the personal, and then that means you can get up and carry on and know you're not getting things totally wrong.
I absolutely love that you come on the show, though. You've achieved so much in your life as well. And like you said earlier, you're coming sort of almost out of the closet. But this is why we do the show. This is all about talking positively about dyslexia and coming out and not finding it. It's not sort of anything that's uncommon or strange or anything like that, and it's surrounding you with people that will understand and how they can help and how you can bounce ideas and how you can progress. I think it's really, really important message to get out there.
And I hadn't realised, so I was talking to Guy, how things like ADHD and things, or is it dyspraxia?
Dyspraxia, yeah.
And things like that, how they all kind of run in tandem. So I did, just literally a few years ago, my daughter and I went into a charity shop, and there was this great big bowl full of Christmas decorations. Now, I adore Christmas. I love Christmas decorations, but I couldn't bear it. I could not leave that shop until I'd sorted it all out and it was in their right shapes and their right colours. And my daughter's going, the non-dyslexic one was going, oh, for goodness sake, do we have to do this? It's like, yes, we do. So I sorted it all out. And at the end, the shopkeeper said, well, thank you so much. You do know there's another box at the back. And my daughter said, yes, out now.
Well, I love it. And listen, I'm going to stop Charlotte ask you questions. I'm going to end the show with Guy, and I'm going to say, lady, thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing with us your story, but also showing the rest of the dyslexic community that, you know what, with a little bit of faith, you can do anything you want to do. And from that note,
you can write your book too.
I know.
Hey.
You wouldn't bring it up. So from all of us, the lovely Charlotte, my astute colleague, Mr. Guy Brewer, and of course, the fabulous Ladey Adey, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here, and I cannot thank you enough. So from all of us, lady, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.